Hello, Monday. Happy Monday, happy Monday. Depression. Depression. Subscribe and like today. Today's another day of going through depression. I remember when I was going through depression, I did not have a clear mind. I did not have a clear mind. My mind wasn't clear. My heart wasn't clear. My life was confusing. Depression. Depression is one of the things that I did not like. Depression it's funny. My life, mind you, my life was built around my family. So for years I took care of my grandmom. For years I took care of when I stopped working, I took care of my grandmom. I remember in 2005 my grandmom had a fall. And I was working at Boscov's. It wasn't too far from her house. And small house. And I love my grandmom. We always have two grandmoms. A grandmom that loves you and a grandmom who's like, but this grandmom always listened to music, always listened to something uplifting, Christian, because I lived in a Christian environment. And I remember taking care of her in her older years because she had dementia. And every night she would think somebody's at the door. My aunt was gracious enough to give me some money for just coming over and watching her. And I loved watching her. Most nights I spent crying because I wanted more in my life. I wanted more. And this was after my grandfather passed and my grandmama almost went through the same thing my grandfather went through. And I have real good discernment, but one thing my grandma was not good at a certain age, she couldn't walk, she couldn't bathe herself, she couldn't do certain things. So my aunt jumped in. And everybody gets older. But my depression was basically because of the way my family treated me. Some days would be great, other days would not be. It started with my grandma, you know, and helping her when I can. Sometimes it'll be Monday through Saturday and even Sunday. My grandma, I love my grandma. When I was little, I remember this one time when the enemy put a face on my grandmother. I was like, wow, that was the enemy. You know how you plan on your grandma being nice, and sometimes when your grandmother teaches you, the enemy just plays with your eyes and plays with your mind. And my grandma tried to teach me piano, which I loved. I loved the piano. But it was the way I was treated, basically. Depression. It was based around I can't. I don't have a scripture for you today. Let me look up these quotes right now. But it was really, really hard. It was hard for me to live a life of happiness because I was so depressed. I was so depressed. It was like, God, am I going to make it through? God, am I really going to make it through this? I love my grandfather and the family dinners that we had. And when my grandmom started getting ill, it was like I was going down a hill every single day, making sure a wasp was not in my window. But my depression, you know how you just want your family to live forever? And one day they end up dying? And one day I actually knew when my grandfather was going to die. It was so scary. I could tell you like it was yesterday. It was a Saturday night before Sunday. And God even gave me scripture. Sorry, I don't mean to cry. But it was really a interesting way that God showed me what was going to happen. So let's look at quotes. Excuse my tears. But I didn't know whether I was going to get through it. I didn't know if I was going to get through it. It's a recession when your neighbor loses his job. It's depression when you lose yours. Depression. I hated going through it, but I took care of my grandmom because I had to. I didn't have to, but I quit my job because I wanted to go check up on her. And I finally, after calling my mom, I don't know how many times, because I think she worked across the street in 2005. I finally got to her and I said, Mom, Nanny fell and no one can get in her house. And somebody called me, I forget who, and said somebody has to go and check up on her. And it was just a crazy, crazy time. You know how you love somebody and you don't want them to get older? Because I love my grandma. My grandma and grandpa, they used to take me to church. I used to love church. But those were the days when I was really depressed. When I thought I was going to get well and I didn't. The only reason I got well was because I journaled. And I journaled everything out on paper. Everything. It was just one of them times. Because when you take care of somebody, You don't want anything to happen to them. You don't want anything to happen. But as I told my aunt the truth, I started taking care of her in like 2 weeks. And things were better. I fixed her coffee every day, or I think it was Folgers coffee. I gave her toasts. And she was fine. She'd just sit there and stare at the TV. And then my aunt would come and take care of her. And, you know, that was just me taking care of her overnight. You know, sometimes I would stay up to the wee hours of the morning. And I used to sit on her couch and just cry. It's okay to cry. But just don't sit in those tears all day and all night. My grandfather did the best that he could. He knew the neighborhood. He was such a light. Even when he didn't know you, he walked by a stranger and he said, "If I don't see you down here one day, I'll see you up there." That's something he used to say. It could be a stranger, and it could be anybody, and he would just, that's something he would say. My grandparents were really, really loved by me. God, heal these people that are going through this depression and don't know which way to go. We'll get through this. Depression. It's not easy. Excuse the sound if you hear the background. But God is still good. Hopefully you still hear me. Alright, I'm going to end this so I can do another one. God bless you. God bless your journey. And stay tuned for the next video on depression. Now it stopped. So I'm going to talk a little longer. I'm going to name this video Crying in Your Tears in Depression. Because there's a lot of things that we need to cry about. A lot of things. On this next video, I'm going to talk about that I can't. So I'm going to have my tissues right beside me. I didn't expect to get on a live and talk to you about my grandparents, but the depression somehow overtook me. And I ended up in this place where I never thought I would be. Of just loving my family. Sometimes you don't want people to die, and no one talks about death. But when you know somebody's going to pass, it's like the worst thing in your life. Brings back memories. The tears of depression. We're going to get through this. Tune in to the next video.